crafty friends, welcome. Today I am part of a collaboration video. There are 6 content creators and we are all making Christmas stockings. So if you know, you know, but if you don't, I am Laura. I post crafting videos here on YouTube. I made like this gingerbread house, we've decorated my tree, we've got some DIYs. I do a lot of paper crafting, a lot of general crafting, and I also like to do a series called DI Try. Now, if you haven't heard of it, it's probably because I think I made it up. But I essentially try a DIY that I've never done before and we post the results on the internet. Sometimes it goes pretty smoothly, sometimes there's some issues and some troubleshooting. Now, I think it's safe to say that this video falls into the category of a DI Try. So Claire messaged me and asked if I'd like to be part of this collaboration, and of course I said yes. And she mentioned that we could make a stocking or a cushion, whichever we preferred, and I thought, I'm going to make a Christmas stocking. I need new ones. I don't particularly like my older ones, and I wanted to get some crushed velvet fabric and make some beautiful stockings. I was so much younger then and naive. I figured I know my way roughly around a sewing machine. I'm not great at sewing, as you will see. And yeah, I figured I'd give it a try. So we started off pretty solid. Here I have some paper taped together and I'm drawing around an old stocking as a template because I'm going to be making my own pattern for this piece. This part was pretty simple and this is something you can definitely follow this advice. It was just the actual execution of the stitching the pieces together that seemed to be the problem. So here I traced around an old stocking and then I redefined the shape slightly with my pencil because I wanted it to be slightly different. The other one was a little boxy and I wanted it to curve inwards a little bit more above the ankle and to have a little bit more of an arch at the bottom of the foot. I also made it slightly taller and I just used a pencil to kind of sketch this out how I wanted. And then I was able to come in with a Sharpie pen and draw around all of it, so I had a nice clear bold outline of where I wanted the placement of my stocking to be. So I extended that top line because I wanted it to be a little taller, and then it was time to sketch in the details. So I wanted to have a contrasting toe and heel section, so I just drew those with a pencil first to make sure I was happy with the shapes, and then redefined them with the Sharpie so I had that nice bold line. So then it was time to add a seam allowance. So I used a ruler to create dots that were 1/2 inch away from my final shape line, I guess, and then I drew around that, connecting the dots, so my template would actually be 1/2 inch bigger across all of those lines, and that just means that I'll have a nice template to cut out on top of my fabric with that seam allowance included, so when I stitch it all together, in theory, it should be the exact same shape. And this is a technique that I've used before with a different sewing machine when I guess everything worked in my favour. So this does work as a very basic principle for cutting out your own pattern. So next I want to show you the fabrics. I picked up a red, a green and a white crushed velvet. I wanted the white to be the toe and the heel section and the cuff. And then I'm using some scrap as a lining, and I also have some batting. I cut all of my pieces out, and so I've got these big stacks of the fabric. And then I wanted to add the heel section and the toe section just to fill in that shape by stitching those together, and I'm also using some cord just to kind of hide those seams. So here's where it all starts to go wrong. I'm trying to sew along these lines to stitch everything together and the machine just wasn't happy. I tried adjusting the tension. I certainly created a lot of tension in my own body as I tried to do this, and I just struggled in vain to try and sew this together. What you're not seeing in these clips is I did try multiple different like scraps of my fabric just to see if I could get the machine and the fabric to be friends. I didn't have the skill level required to be able to do this. It was it was just not a good time. So at this point I'm about halfway through. I'm feeling stressed. Nothing's going right. My thread keeps snapping. Everything keeps getting tangled up. My fabric, I've cut it to be the same size. They match. I sew them together. I think the fabric kept slipping. I probably didn't have it pinned right. I fully believe that all of these issues are user error. It's not that there's a fault in the machine, or it's me. It's my fault. I know this. So I tried it all. I was praying, I was drinking wine. That definitely didn't help, but it didn't make it worse. And it just wasn't going well. I tried to FaceTime my nan. This is her old sewing machine, so I thought she might have some words of wisdom. She was able to tell me I did have it threaded correctly to the best of her knowledge. It's been a few years since she'd used this machine. So the seam ripper became my best friend. I used it over and over when I stitched something wrong, when I didn't catch all the layers of the fabric. I would pull it out, rip all the stitches out and go again. Luckily it was a fabric that was quite forgiving in that sense. At least somebody forgave me for what I've done here today. So I came to the conclusion that the only thing to do at this point was to simplify and start again. So I'm using a template, and I'm just gonna cut out 2 pieces of fabric. We're forgetting the lining, we're forgetting the contrasting toe, we're forgetting the batting to help it all stay nice and upright so it's not like a limp noodle hanging on my fireplace. We're just trying to get her done. This is why it's such a 2020 stocking. It's been a struggle, it's been a journey, and we just want to get to the end. So here I am, starting again, trying to hold it together. And of course I'm joking, this isn't the most stressful thing that's happened to me or to anyone this year. Hopefully you're taking this video as a slight comedic relief, which is the intent in which it's meant. So not deliberately, I might add. So here we go. I'm sewing again. I have these 2 pieces. I've tacked them together. I'm being gentle. I'm telling the machine it's beautiful. It's so smart. It's the best machine ever. I just needed to sew a couple straight lines. And it's going okay. I'm still definitely on the struggle bus. It is not going perfectly, but better than it was before. And I mean, isn't all anyone can hope for is just a little growth and a little improvement? So now I have a somewhat stocking shape. I need some tabs to hang the stockings. So I cut out 2 rectangles of fabric. I'm going to fold them in half and sew along the edge to seal that up, and then turn it inside out, and I'll have a little loop that I can stitch to the top of the stocking. Come on, sewing machine, don't fail me. We can do this. It is a straight line. I know how to do it. You know how to do it. Hold your breath. Say a prayer. Again, a struggle. But I got it done. So I'm turning the piece inside out, and then it's time to start trying to add the cuff. So as I turn this inside out and marvel at the fact that I managed to sort of stitch a straight line, I cut out a piece of the white fabric to be twice the height that I wanted my final cuff to be, so I could fold it over, and the exact same width as, I guess, the circumference of the top of the stocking. So I'm pinning this all together. I've got it folded over so the fluffy side is facing out, and then I'll be adding the loop once this is done. One thing to note here is that I do still have the stocking inside out, so I'm just making sure to cut away some of that seam allowance so this white band can be as tight as possible to the inside of the stocking. So I went ahead and pinned everything in place and then ran that through my sewing machine without too many hiccups. I did manage to sew the 2 sides of this band together the wrong way, which is what you just saw me do there. So here I'm stitching everything together. I'm taking care to only go through the white band and 1 section of the green stocking. It was a little difficult on this machine because it doesn't have some of them have like a narrower, I believe it's called a mouth, so you can get like sleeves and things into your sewing machine quite easily. This didn't have it, but we got there. Now I'm turning the whole thing inside out, and you know what? I'm gonna say it, I'm pretty impressed. Took a while to get there, but you know, it's a stocking. It looks like a stocking. This is me realizing this part is sewn inside out and seriously considering leaving it. But no, I did grab the seam ripper, rip that apart and re-sew it so the stitching would be on the inside. But there we have it. We have a little band and a stocking, and I am so not friends with this machine right now, so I decide that I'm going to actually hand sew the tab on the top. So here's me just repinning this piece. The difference is I have everything facing the right way now, and I'm just gonna stitch that together again with all the struggles and go and fold that cuff over, and then all of those threads will be hidden. So there we have the green and the red stocking finished. They look a little bit like limp noodles on my fireplace because they haven't got any lining or batting, but hey, we got there, and there was times where I thought I definitely would not. So there we have it, we made it to the end. They may not be the creme de la creme of Christmas stockings, but we made it. And you know what? I've hung them on my fireplace and they make me happy. They're not perfect, far, far from perfect, but they're handmade. I really, that's it, they're handmade. No. So they're handmade. I do like how they look. I think they match my decor. I keep looking because they're over there. They match my my decorations a lot better. But you know what? I think I'm going to practice, and I'm going to come back next year and try and create what I had the vision for originally, which is the crushed velvet with the contrasting like toe and heel and band, and yeah, see if we can make it a little better with a bit more practice, because that's what crafting's all about. You don't have to get it right. It doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, I have had people argue in my comment section that perhaps I shouldn't share a video if it doesn't go perfectly, but I don't think I'd ever upload anything if I only shared my perfect projects. It's a learning experience, and you guys can come along the ride, and I really enjoy it when people leave helpful comments advising what I could try differently to try and get this to work better, so I'd appreciate any of those. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to check out the other collaboration videos. I'll have them all linked in the description, and we're almost at the end. 2021 is in sight, and I hope it is a better year for all of us. I wish you the very best across this festive season, and I will see you in the next video if this one hasn't put you off and you're hitting the subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.